5 hours after Navy blimp L8 lifted off with 2 men aboard, it drifted into Daly City with its door open and nobody inside. It was August 16, 1942, and the war had reached the California coast in everyone's imagination, and sometimes in fact. Lieutenant Ernest Cody and Ensign Charles Adams were not tourists or daredevils. They were Navy airmen doing a coastal patrol. The route was ordinary on paper, out past the Golden Gate toward the Farallons, then along the coast before returning to base. L8 had once been a Goodyear advertising blimp. By 1942, the Navy had turned it into a slow-moving submarine hunter. Its weapons were real: depth charges, a machine gun, smoke markers, radio equipment, and enough fuel for a normal mission. At 6:03 a.m., L8 rose from Treasure Island and headed toward the Golden Gate in low cloud and grey morning light. Nothing in the early flight looked impossible. Fishermen and patrol craft saw a Navy blimp moving exactly where it belonged. At 7:42, Cody radioed that he was investigating a suspicious oil slick. Then the official voice of L8 went silent. An oil slick mattered because submarine fear was not abstract. A dark smear on the water could mean danger under the surface. The crew dropped smoke markers to hold the spot. Nearby crews noticed, and some worried a depth charge might follow. Witnesses later said they could still make out men in the gondola while L8 circled low over the slick. The blimp descended close to the water, then climbed. What happened inside that control car is the locked room of the case. After the oil slick message, the timeline becomes sightings, silence, and guesses stitched together from ships, planes, and shore witnesses. Search aircraft later saw L8 high above the coast, apparently out of normal control, then dropping back under the clouds. A Pan Am Clipper crew and other observers saw the blimp returning toward land, but not in a way that answered anything. When a blimp rises too high, expanding helium vents through safety valves. Without a crew correcting it, physics starts writing the story. Near Ocean Beach, the deflating ship came down close enough for people to grab its lines. The gondola was already empty. A depth charge shook loose as the blimp struck the ground. Suddenly lighter, L8 rose again and kept drifting inland. Then thousands watched the airship limp inland over Daly City, sagging and silent above homes, cars, poles, and streets. People ran toward it because they assumed the crew needed help. The mystery only became visible when rescuers looked inside. The control car struck a pole, the envelope settled over a car, and the strange flight finally stopped in a residential street. The door was open, the cabin was empty. That single detail turned a crash response into an investigation. The parachutes were still there. The life raft was still there. The radio worked. The ship was not a shattered wreck. What was missing was narrower. Cody, Adams, and the life jackets they were expected to be wearing over water. The Navy's strongest explanation was not a secret weapon or a monster. It was an accident during a low-altitude task. Investigators questioned the door latch and the open doorway, because both pointed toward involuntary separation rather than escape. If one man went overboard, the other may have slowed the blimp and tried to help before losing control of the situation. The dangling hailer microphone matters because it suggests someone may have been trying to communicate outside the cabin. After the men were gone, the rest becomes less mysterious. Less weight, rising helium, venting gas, then a slow fall toward shore. But even the best explanation stayed partly conjectural. The inquiry could explain the blimp better than it could prove the moment. Once newspapers had an empty blimp, rumors arrived fast. Warm coffee, strange passengers, sabotage, spies, and later stranger inventions. The famous warm coffee and half-eaten sandwich detail makes a great scene, but it does not survive careful handling. Enemy capture, secret defection, murder, and impossible visitors all require extra claims that the evidence does not give us. Careful evidence narrows the story. No fire, no submersion, no proven attack, no sign the men planned to abandon ship. Cody was 27, young for the responsibility he carried, and remembered as capable rather than reckless. Adams was older and deeply experienced in airships, newly commissioned, and making this patrol as an officer. The Navy searched for days. Their families did not receive a solved mystery. They received the long silence of missing at sea paperwork. Ships, planes, Coast Guard crews, wardens and civilians searched water and shoreline. Nothing identifiable came back. That absence is why the case keeps breathing. Not because it proves a fantasy, but because it leaves no final human witness. The most grounded answer is accidental separation over water, probably during the oil slick investigation or a quick recovery attempt. Parachute staying aboard fits an accident at low altitude. It does not fit a planned escape from a controllable aircraft. The missing life jackets are not strange if the men wore them as required. They vanish because the men vanish. Physics explains the blimp's rise, venting, fall, beach impact, lost depth charge, and final drift. It does not identify the exact second. The hardest question is still the radio. If one man was lost, why did the other not call for help? Witnesses watched the blimp, but not the one moment that mattered. Or if they saw something, it never became proof. That is why the official story can be plausible and still incomplete. The ending is not solved, it is bounded. L8 was repaired and flew again. The control car survived into a museum. Cody and Adams did not come home.